If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Hey everybody, it's Mind Pump. Look, in this episode of Mind Pump, for the first 42 minutes, we do our fun time conversation. Actually, this time it got a little preachy.
It's our happy time.
Let's see if you enjoy it. This is what we talked about for the first 42 minutes. We talked about our upcoming 1,000th episode. God, I can't believe we've done 1,000 episodes almost already.
That is a milestone.
That's awesome. Then we talked about Skinny Dipped, our favorite almond snacks. These are almonds lightly dipped in a thin layer of unbelievably delicious chocolate. The macros are really good, so if you're watching your macros, trying to maintain a lean body, but you want to eat something that's delicious, check out Skinny Dipped, and we got you a discount. Here's what you do. Go to skinnydipped.com/mindpump and use the code mindpump to get 20% off. Then we talked about what it takes to achieve mastery over a subject. And then Adam brought up my Instagram post that I talked about on abstaining or abstinence. Not necessarily complete abstinence, but rather managing yourself in modern life. And that one actually got a little controversial, so you might want to listen to that part. And then we talked about good and bad foods. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Some foods, not that good. Okay, everything's not great.
So judgmental.
Then we got into the fitness portion of this episode. The first question we were asked is chocolate milk a good post-workout drink? Apparently some studies have come out showing that milk, or in particular chocolate milk, is just as effective as protein shakes for replenishing glycogen and helping with recovery. So we give our 2 cents. The next question, are pre-workout supplements without stimulants worth taking? And with that, we also talk about the pre-workouts that we like and what we like to take before we work out. Next question, this person is looking to hire a personal trainer. What are the good questions to ask? How do I know if this trainer is going to be a good investment? And the final question, is opening a gym a worthy investment? We talk all about what it takes to open a gym, what it takes to run a gym, and when we're going to open a gym in the future. Also, 3 days left. There's only 3 days, 72 hours for the MAPS Aesthetic 50% off sale. MAPS Aesthetic is one of our most popular MAPS programs. It is the program designed to train you to sculpt and shape your body as you see fit. It's a bodybuilder, physique competitor, and bikini competitor inspired program. It has a lot of volume, so your workout's going to be hard. Some of them are going to be kind of long, and you will be in the gym 5 days a week, but it is very effective. Here's how you get 50% off. Go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and use the code BLACK50, BLACK50. Also, we have other MAPS programs on there. If MAPS Aesthetic is not right for your body or for your goals, I guarantee we have a program that will work for you. Go on that site, go check them out, pick one for yourself. Again, it's mapsfitnessproducts.com, and the code for 50% off MAPS Aesthetic, one more time, BLACK50, BLACK50.
You know what's coming up?
Hi.
Our fucking 1,000th episode.
Our fucking 1,000th.
Extravaganza.
That's a major deal.
How many
podcasts have made it?
I can't believe we've done
that
1,000 episodes and Justin hasn't gotten any better. That's crazy.
It's so weird.
You know what?
Been coasting the entire time.
We should have people do the Mind Pump Challenge. Listen to some old episodes.
Oh God, don't do that.
No, it's embarrassing. 1,000 episodes. That's a lot of talking.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm exhausted.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Is how. Think about this. How many friends do you have, or people, forget that. How many people in your life do you have that you literally sit down and talk like deep conversations 10 hours a week?
Dude, that's the thing that's hilarious. Like 1,000 episodes of us having conversations is more than any other friend I've even had.
That's crazy.
Do you know what I mean?
It is.
I guarantee I've not talked to my friends that many times.
That's why I feel like, because I've only known you guys for 4 years, right? But I feel like I know you guys way better than that.
Well, yeah, no.
My deepest, darkest secrets.
When Katrina and I eventually make the time to go get married and stuff like that, I have to have the three of you in my fucking wedding. I mean, it's mandatory.
I would be butthurt.
Right. It's like I was not planning on those 3 extra slots. If you would actually, I kind of reorganized.
We just etched our way in there,
everything.
Dude.
I was just like, I can't let my friend who I talk to like once a month or something like that slide in there before you guys.
Oh, and you know,
you
who's
guys
that
know
guy?
Yeah, who's that
come on,
guy?
and you know we'll make the best speech, bro.
Yeah.
We know,
Yeah, we know a lot of shit.
it'll be good times in that speech. Justin will sing it.
I will. I'll open it up for
It'll
everybody.
be awesome. But anyway, I'm excited because I like the way we're wrapping it up, because normally we hit a milestone, like episode 500, episode 800, and we're like, oh
yeah,
shit,
woohoo.
what happened? But I like the way we set this up because we're having a live audience of our fans.
Oh, dude, can I tell you how excited I am about that? Like, I feel like just the energy, like when people come in, and we've done it a few times with just like 2 people or so, but just to have like some extra people there kind of listening in makes a total different dynamic.
Yeah. Oh, earlier Rachel was asking if they should get like snacks or something while they're waiting out in the lobby.
Yeah, I want to at least hook them all up with like a skinny dip when they come in. You know? Hook them up with the chocolate almonds.
It's a good idea.
Get them hooked.
Yeah.
Get them hooked on the
That's what we
chocolate.
do.
Yeah, it's like,
Once everybody tries,
like a drug dealer.
half of it's people like, oh, you guys, you got me. You know, I'm getting all these DMs of skinny dip. Like, I found it at CVS, dude. I've just been eating them like crazy.
It doesn't make any sense.
The secret,
so
though,
good.
is to not buy the big bag.
You have to not buy
those
Skinny dip's
singles.
going to get mad at me. I'm like, don't buy their big bags. Like, you got to buy the little individual ones.
You know what I do, right? Is I'll
Moderate.
take a few bags home at a time. I leave them all here. Otherwise, I'll eat the whole damn thing.
I've been doing the same thing, too, because we got all the boxes here. And before, I was bringing them home to Katrina, and we were putting them in the freezer.
Forget it.
We were just plowing through them. So now it's the same way. I'm like,
But
I'll
I
take a couple.
can't. You know, it's funny. Back when we first started, remember our flow would get messed up when other people were in the room,
It did.
and now it's not.
It's different now.
Yeah, now we're good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're a little uncomfortable with it initially, but I think we can feed off it. That's why I'm really curious to see how this goes down, because this is the most people we're gonna have like watching us
What is
actually do a real podcast.
I feel like
15?
I feel like Doug's getting a nervous look on his face with this, the chocolate
it's
almonds.
like the technical.
No, I think he's seeing like the chocolate almonds all over the floor, getting here, getting messy. So I don't want to mess that up.
put Visqueen everywhere.
You're not. What's Visqueen?
It's that like plastic sheets.
Oh yeah.
You ever do the slip and slide with Visqueen?
No, is that the Weston Oil party you tried to invite me
Yeah,
to?
it got freaky.
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah,
But anyway,
yeah, you were invited.
there won't be a single skinny dipped almond on the floor. Those fuckers will eat them all up.
You think so?
Yeah, dude. You don't drop that.
So, okay, well, 'cause Doug looks nervous. He get that nervous look when we said
Most
it.
food has a 5-second rule. Skinny dip is so good, it's like a 5-hour rule. Like I look, oh, when did you
You
drop
still-
that, Adam? Yesterday, it's still good.
Yes.
It's fine.
Pick it up. It's still got the chocolate film on it. Okay, this is all good.
Yeah.
So 1,000 episodes, that's got to be a minimum of 2,000. It's over 2,000 hours, right? Would you say? Would you say it's about 2,000 hours of us talking?
That's saying 2 hours every single episode.
Well, because some
I
are
feel like it probably averages out to like an hour and a half.
That's
wouldn't
what
you say.
I would say that.
well, we have some like our interviews sometimes have gone. Yeah, I guess you're right though.
because then we
right?
have had some that are only 50 minutes,
yeah.
right? So
it's like 1,500 hours of talking.
the thing that I think is interesting to me about that, we were talking about this a while back to somebody who's been listening since the beginning. They're like, "Oh man, you guys have gotten so good compared to when you started." I'm like, you know what's crazy is we haven't even hit the halfway point of being considered a master at your craft.
It's 10,000
I
hours,
know.
right?
Yes, we're not even close.
And I don't know if you guys remember. I remember there was a clear distinction between my style, my training and coaching ability after I'd reached beyond 10,000 hours. Once I had put that 10,000 hours in, I was a much better trainer than I was before that.
Oh yeah,
So it takes those reps, man.
yeah. You
Actually-
just look at your client and you just know exactly like, okay, I'm going to do all these things.
Actually, I have maybe some bad news here.
What?
So let's say you were a trainer, and from day one you did 40 hours or 40 sessions of training a week, which is a lot for a personal trainer. It's a lot of training, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're doing 40 sessions a week, 40 hours, and 10,000 hours requires expertise, divide 10,000 by 40, that's 250 weeks of training to be considered an expert.
So it's divided by 5. So
Divided
about
by what?
5 to 6 years.
Is
That's
what?
what-
No,
so-
no, that's 250 weeks. Divide that by.
It was 52 weeks in a year.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that's So it's 5 years.
Yeah, about 5 years. That's a
Yeah.
lot. I did the math wrong.
I was like, what's
You're like, we never, never achieved it. Yeah, we did, bro. Come on. Don't take that from
That's
us.
exactly what he was thinking. Right there.
Sorry, guys. We
Dang.
were never experts.
No,
Yeah.
well, you remember. So after you left, you
No
don't-
wonder. I was like, I could get better.
You asshole.
You thought you'd get better
Dude,
at math.
after you left, maybe by now.
We counted 12.
Yeah, after you left 24 Hour Fitness, they started to do this these patches where you would get like when you hit 5,000 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget what they call them. But that's part of the minimum requirements to even become a master. Or at least this is what it was. I don't know if they're the same rules. Somebody can DM and tell me if it is. But they used to be, you had to have 3 national certifications plus 5,000 hours of training clients before they would consider you a master trainer.
Yeah, and then give you the black shirt.
Which I thought was cool because I think that there's for sure a lot of truth to that, man. There's the trainer.
I don't know if the number 10,000 is, I don't know where they came up with that, but.
Seems to be pretty accurate to me.
Well, but think about it this way, dude. How many
a lot
years
of
would
time.
we have the podcast to hit 10,000 hours then?
Well, I mean,
Never.
I mean, we're just not that good. Look
Like
at
70.
Well, think of this. Joe Rogan is as good
1
as
hour.
he's considered one of the best podcasters, right? If not the best podcaster.
He's on episode 1400, I think.
Right. And not only that, dude did 20 years of media before.
He did. Stand up.
Yeah,
and
that all counts,
on
dude.
his stand-up, yeah.
Yeah, that all counts. Like we didn't have any sort of practice like that. I mean, it would
Yeah,
be
it's true.
Yeah, so no, I 100% agree. I agree that it takes that 10,000 hours before you become a master at that. Look at the growth of the show or our skill sets today. Just going back, and what'd you figure the math was? 3,000 something. We're not even at the halfway point, right?
For what? How many hours?
Yeah, how many hours?
Oh, we're like, well, even if I said 2,000 hours, that puts us, and it took us 4 years to get there. Whew. We'll be here for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think you have to include YouTube, right? So you would include all media that we've had to shoot, right? Or anything that we've had to record our voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would also add all the YouTube videos.
And the appearances on other shows.
I just
yeah, right. All the other interviews and things
yeah.
like that. So you'd add all that.
I just feel like it takes, for me as a personal trainer, I would say, boy, I didn't really get good until like 8 to 10 years into it, I think.
Yeah.
It took about that long, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about how long it probably took because as a trainer,
It's just a whole nother level.
yeah. As a trainer, I got a ton of hours because I was working 10 clients a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes. But then I was quickly promoted. And once I was promoted, I didn't train nowhere near that many hours.
yeah.
So it probably took me 10 years before I reached, that 10,000 hours of actually training one-on-one clients. I would guesstimate.
Now, what do you guys think is the mechanisms behind that? Because I feel like it's almost, because I'm going to try and apply it to training clients because that's the thing that I've done the most, right? And I don't think it has anything to do with the knowledge that I gained. I didn't know more knowledge at 10 years than I did necessarily at 5 years.
I think it's just a pattern recognition.
That's what I think.
It's intuition.
Yeah, because it almost becomes like predictive. Like when you show up, like even if they're going to ask a question, I know what they're going to ask.
Right.
It got to that level where you're just like, wow, okay. Yeah, I literally, it didn't take a whole lot of effort at that point because it's like you just know. You just show up and you know.
Well, if you were to
was
break
kinda
it,
weird.
if you were to break it down and look at the top 10 excuses why clients don't purchase training, the top 10 reasons why clients don't see results, I bet we could come up with a list and we'd all probably agree on that. Like pretty close, right? Wouldn't you say like the 10 objections, the 10 reasons why someone fails, right? The 10 reasons why someone's successful. And then I could take that number and then I could probably multiply that by, or say that, okay, of those 10, I've seen 50 to 100 people of each scenario.
Yeah.
So I've got to practice that exact scenario. That person who's going to tell me this objection, have these problems, probably fail this way. So it becomes very predictive, like Justin's saying, like instantly, I see you say a few things, and I already kind of know where you're going to fit in. You're like, okay, you're this person. I mean, I was just having this conversation with Katrina because a lot of her coworkers and friends of hers are always trying to get her to get me to train like one of them or their spouse or like, hey, how much I'll pay Adam this, I'll pay him to do this. And I tell Katrina all the time, I'm like, you know what? Like, I've already talked to some of these people before, and I've given them some things that they need to do first, and they don't do it. So I already know what kind of client they're going to be. I have no desire. Like, there's not enough of money that you could offer me that would get me to go like, okay, let me train this person, because I know I'm really not going to help them. They think that I'm the answer. They think that I'm going to give them some magical workout or some magical diet that's going to get them these great results. What I know is they're not willing to put the simple work in of doing X, Y, and Z. Therefore, I know the effort that I'm going to have to put in to just kind of limp them along, and I'm just not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't even have to start training them when I already know. So that's just because from my experience.
It's almost like it becomes, I don't know who said, I think it might have been Bruce Lee who said this quote, and I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it. It was something like, I don't punch, it punches on its own, or something like that he used to say, where it's almost, it becomes intuitive. You know what I'm saying? Where maybe the first 10 years of training clients, a lot of what I did was a conscious thought. Like, here's the process, here's what I need to do, here's what needs to happen. After a certain point, it became automatic, like breathing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. It's like the difference between, knowing something, and the difference between that and actually knowing it.
It's the patterns, like Justin said. You've solidified it in your brain. We already know that our brain already works in a predictive mode. It's just you've seen this story enough times. You're already 5 steps ahead. I think it's the same way in leadership. Like, I've actually probably spent as much hours, probably more hours leading trainers than I actually did training clients. So even my conversations with staff and people, like I feel like I'm at another level of like, I already know what this person's going to say. I already know how they're going to react. I know if I say this, this, or this, it's going to push them in this direction. If I say this, this, and this, it's going to push them in that direction. Mm-hmm. And so when you've done that so many times, and now I don't have to think about all that when I go to have a conversation. It's just my brain.
Just do it.
Yeah, you just do it. I just have the conversation, but I'm subconsciously aware of all these different pathways it could take based off of how I guide the conversation. So I think that I really do think everything I think of basketball. I played basketball for many, many years of my life, and probably wasn't that good until I hit about the 10,000 hours of consistent practice over and over.
Like if I throw a ball at you, you catch it without thinking about the fact that you're going to catch it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing when you have that much experience doing what you're doing. And really the thing is, who was it I was talking to? I was having a conversation about this exact thing about our podcast and what we've done, and somebody had it was on Instagram, and someone was asking me questions. This person has their own podcast, and they were saying, like, how did you guys know how to communicate what you're communicating? And I said, well, first of all, none of us had any experience podcasting. None of us had any experience with media. We had lots of experience communicating fitness and health, though. We had tons of experience doing that. So when you listen to the podcast, especially in the beginning, what you hear is very amateur, low experience media guys who can communicate fitness extremely well. That's what you heard early on.
That's a great point. Mm-hmm.
And as we get better, what ends up happening is we refine our media skills, but that the message is what we've been communicating forever. So that's not something that we need to develop 10,000 hours on. It's the same stuff I communicate on the podcast is what I've honed over the last 20 years.
Well, that's a good
talking
point.
to clients.
You probably noticed this, just everything you've told your clients for that block of time, that 10,000 hours, but now we're repeating, again. So now you're compiling upon that knowledge preceding that, which it's pretty trippy to think about. And that's why I know that a lot of these modalities and these ideas, like they keep resurfacing, or they, but we see a lot of, concerns with like certain, diet trends, certain, fitness trends. And so I think that's why we can kind of see how it all plays out. We try to communicate that.
It's kind of like that question we just got asked the other day about programming, and how, what if the science comes out and says that, training frequency doesn't matter as long as the volume is the same. And that didn't matter because there's so many other factors that we're actually thinking about when we give that advice. It's not just
what the science says for a 6-month period or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing too is that this same person was asking me, hey, you guys are kind of bro, you work out, this and that, you make those, same kind of joke, but then you guys are super vulnerable, and you guys talk about your insecurities and your weaknesses and your problems. And they're like, well, why do you guys do that? Where did you guys get that from? And I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, you don't see too many guys who are willing to do that. And then I thought, and I said, we learned that from training clients too.
100%.
Yeah.
One thing you learn training people for a long, long, long time is you start to learn how to be able to touch them in particular ways to where they can hear what you're trying to communicate. And one of the best ways to do that is to be vulnerable yourself.
Yep. That's how you pull them in.
Part of communication, actually the largest part of communication, is listening and also being vulnerable yourself. People can relate to you and will start to hear what you have to say. And I remember learning that as a trainer, where I stopped feeling like I had to be the guy that had all the answers. I stopped feeling like I had to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Once I started opening up and being vulnerable and sharing my own insecurities and weaknesses, I was way more effective as a trainer. And so that I'm like, I learned that too.
Well, it's just
through
like
becoming a trainer, because really what you do for 10,000 hours as a trainer, what we're talking about isn't training people for 10,000 hours. Majority of what you do is conversations with your clients. The knowledge of how to train people, I mean, that you do develop that as well. And there's an intuition around that, but it's how you communicate to them and how you listen to them. That's what really develops,
right.
Over time. So
no, I think it's important to bring yourself down. Like when you're getting ready to tell somebody really rough news or tell them they're doing a bad job or something like that, one of the easiest ways to get them to open their ears and not build up a wall is to explain to them that you've been challenged in an area the same way. It's the same thing with leadership, right? Like when I'm about to deliver hard news to somebody on the staff or have a challenging conversation, I acknowledge the difficulty of what I'm about to just challenge them on. Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes with a client. Like before you do that with a client and you tell them like they're eating all these bad foods and they're not making good choices with their exercise, and before you just drop that hammer and you like point the finger, you go like, oh man, I know how hard it is to do this, and I know and normally one of the best ways to do that is to share a story about yourself where you've fucked up or you've had a hard time, so you can feel like you can connect and relate to that. So then when you deliver that message, they're a lot more receptive to it. So
otherwise they're going to build a wall right away.
And that's just the art of communication. So I think, and it's something too that I see wrong in our space, and I think we all do, is a lot of people in the fitness community put themselves up on this pedestal, right, where they get ripped and shredded, and it's all the motivational angle, and it's them preaching like you should do this, you should do that. Where the angle that we came from was, here's all the mistakes that we made over the last 15 years. Like I did a lot of things the wrong way. I'm here just
how you can avoid them.
And I just want to share with you my experience and what I've learned from that. Take with it as you want. Mm-hmm. And I think that approach and just communication period.
And the irony of it is in our space, people who are in the fitness space, they have some of the biggest personal problems. Most of them have terrible body image issues, terrible insecurities. This is what motivated them to be so driven to achieve their ideal of perfection. And it can definitely be, to me, a little bit annoying when I see people projecting this false image when I know what it takes to look and be that way. And a lot of it was driven initially, and maybe not at the moment, but initially was, man, I really hate myself and I'm going to try to become this perfect person. And I wish I could just sit down and talk with them and be like, look, man, if you're just honest and real, you'll be way more effective at what you're trying to communicate. People will listen to you far better.
Problem is, many of them are still lying to themselves, so they think that they're being real.
They're still in it.
So I have empathy. Like I have empathy because I see it and I go like,
I remember when I was in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think you don't know you're in it, right? You are justified in your head, like, oh, I look this way for this, and they're just silly. They don't have the work ethic, or they don't have this, or like so. You start making these reasons up in your head.
Dude, I was so convinced for a long time. Like, no, people just don't have the fucking work ethic. They're just lazy. They're just. And it's, is that a part of it? I mean, you could say it in a kind of rough, brutal way, sure, but it's way more complex than that, way more difficult than that. Again, I learned this a long time ago with one of my clients it was this gentleman who was just extremely successful in business, and I asked him, like, how do you do it? And he's like, Sal, he goes, just follow these steps. If you follow these steps, it'll work. And I remember thinking, like, he thinks it's so easy. But it's not that easy. And I remember thinking, this same guy who wants to lose 50 pounds, who's struggled with his weight his whole life, I think it's so easy to get lean. He sees how it's difficult. It's the same fucking thing. Yeah. He's just, in one area, he understands how simple it is in one area. I understand in another area, but really it's all the same. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's climbing Mount Everest. It's one step after another, no matter what you're trying to accomplish. and it's difficult. It's fucking hard. So when I look at somebody who's having a struggle, rather than being like, you're lazy, how many areas of my life that I struggle with, that I still struggle with? I bet it's just as easy for other people to succeed in those areas that I struggle with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start to become, more effective. Anyway.
Speaking of our space, I saw you stirring the pot with your post last night.
You're going to bring that up?
I am going to bring it up because,
stop, dude.
because I thought that was great. Dude. Well, I thought it was well written, man. It was. I love when you get a little fire up your ass and decide you're gonna write something like that because it's been the message in our space for a long time, and I love that it's not coming from judgment. Like it's not you're not judging others for their decision to have multiple partners or like that. I don't think any of us are anti someone doing that, but I also think that there needs to be a voice on the other side of someone making reason for why it may not be the best for a lot of people that are following a lot of these people that are putting that message out.
No,
Right.
I think
It just needs to be balanced out.
Yep, modern life is 100% going to be healthy and have meaning and purpose in life and to be fulfilled in modern life is going to be all about structure and abstinence. Only because we are afforded every single
See, the funny thing
that we could ever
when
want.
you say that, I actually don't think modern life. I think life has always been this way. I think it's just different stuff. And I think it's at a faster pace. We have this ability to connect right away and see so much more than before. But I think
you're
it's
right.
always been that.
No, you're right. I 100% understand. The reason why I communicate it that way, Adam, is because I think it resonates with people. Because I can use a few examples like, 5,000 years ago, you ate healthy and you weren't obese because you kind of had no choice.
Right.
What you killed is what you ate, and what you could grow, what you found that was growing is what you ate.
Well, didn't they?
So you didn't have obese people because it wasn't an option.
Wasn't like obesity like connected to like wealth?
Yeah.
Like you were if you had the ability to get fat, you must have been rich.
You're
It was
right.
almost like
Getting all the chicks.
Yeah, no, it was. You were like that was like a big deal.
Well, I think people are starting to discover this understanding because they're being given everything that they think that they want. It's no different than a child. Imagine giving a kid everything that they fucking wanted. There's a reason why they call it spoiled. It's not a good way to be. So there's a lot. Here's a good example. Okay, there are a lot of young men today who are talking about pornography far differently than we did when we were kids. There's a lot of men today who are saying things like, "Oh, I don't look at pornography, or I limit my use, or I restrict my use, or I go through a week of fasting off pornography." Now, why are they saying this? These are young men that are saying this. Because they now have access to so much variety of pornography and things that when we were kids,
Instant access.
when I was a kid, pornography was limited. Just was. It was very difficult to come by.
Yeah.
And I always make this joke, but I'm not even exaggerating. At 13 years old, I literally could have gotten some kid's bike for a dirty magazine. Not even joking. A kid would have given me his fucking bike.
Of course.
For one. That's how difficult it was to come by. But today, because it's so accessible, now kids are starting to see the really glaring negative consequences of having all this crazy amount of variety of visual stimulation, and they're having erectile dysfunction, they're having problems with their relationships, and so they themselves are making structure. Yeah. They themselves are saying, okay, I need to create some practices because this is just not working for me. And modern life means you have access to insane amounts of food, variety of food, cheap food, hyper palatable food, any taste, any flavored. I mean, food is like pornography. It's everywhere whenever you want. I could walk out the studio right now. I could have Chinese food, Indian food. I could have crackers, cookies, chips, sugar, fat, salt. I can do whatever I want. So I have to develop structure and practices around that because in the past, I didn't necessarily have to do that. Again, 5,000 years ago, nobody was thinking to themselves, I got to watch my calories and my macros. It was just it's just how you naturally were. Same thing with activity. Today, you have to schedule activity in your life because we've done such a good job of eliminating the back-breaking strain of grueling natural life. I mean, if you go back, hundreds of years ago, people's backs and knees and hips hurt because they were moving too much.
Yeah.
It was too much strain.
So much laborious activity involved with everything.
Yeah. Today, as a personal trainer, I can say with full confidence that 90% of my clients' back, knee, hip, neck pain is not from strain and labor. It's from inactivity. The total opposite. Our bodies are withering away with things like osteoporosis. You have muscle loss, and even obese people. They used to think that obese people would have more muscle because of the weight, and they're finding that they're actually suffering from muscle loss as well. So we have to develop structure and practices around activity just to keep ourselves healthy. Well, we are also in a time now where we have many methods that are effective at preventing pregnancy. We have methods of preventing sexually transmitted diseases. We have easy access to each other through communicating through apps. It's very easy to find people who just want to have sex nowadays, even if you're a man. Like for a woman, I think that was always kind of easy because guys are usually, we're far less selective. But for a guy to find women who just want to have sex in the past was kind of difficult. You'd have to go to special areas or whatever, and then, prostitution existed, for stuff like that. But nowadays you go on an app and people are like totally open and eager. Nothing wrong with that. It's all voluntary. Nobody's hurting each other. But I think what people are going to find is that itself can also cause lots of problems, and it takes away from, the traditional building, relationship building, long-term, meaningful type relationships, and also the devotion and the what's the word? The difficulty, but also the growth that comes from being like, what?
Commitment.
Let's just, So that's all my post was about. And there's a couple of people got mad and I'm like, look, this is not a moral or immoral thing. That's not what I'm saying at all.
I think it's just so new. I think that a lot of people haven't even wrapped their brains around that fact that everything is that accessible. And, we should actually start thinking now about like putting, boundaries and structure around it. So that way, we live our most optimal, thriving life. And that's really like what it's about. Like, regardless of like your moral standpoint on all those things, like as a human being, you have to be concerned about, getting sucked into whatever like indulgences are immediately available to you.
Yeah. To me, I always look at a great example. I've used this many times is celebrities. You have celebrities have incredible, and they've always had, right? Ever since the celebrity existed, incredible access to everything. Access to drugs, access to sex like crazy. I mean, if you're a rock star or a hot, famous model, like sex was always super available. Food, money, whatever they want, and yet the depression and drug abuse and suicide rate among celebrities is insane. So you think to yourself, here are people who have everything that I think that I want, money and good-looking people, and yet these people are miserable. And then you go and you talk to these, people who seem to be just, happy, but not in the ecstatic way, but kind of happy and fulfilled in life. Your everyday, regular moms and dads, or even your spiritual leaders who seem to be at peace with things. And you look how they live, and you're like, wait a minute, these people, they don't seem to value all these other things that we think that are super important, and they're doing much better. And I'm saying you don't need to become a monk. I'm just saying that it gives you a lot of answers in that case.
What do you think, you attracted some of these people too, and for some reason this still triggers me, and I was trying to unpack that for myself. Like, why does that annoy me so fucking much that I want to get on your post and fire at people? And it's this notion that, it's not smart or it's not good for us to label foods good or bad.
Oh, that part.
Yeah, you get people that start to defend that statement so much that it bothers the fuck out of me. It bothers me that we can't, and I understand, so I get right where it's coming from. It's like, oh, it's not smart for us to demonize food, and then you get these people that get into these camps and they turn in like, oh my God, sugar will kill you, and like, no. I'm not trying to be like that at all, but why is it not okay for us just to accept that there are, because is it better way?
Why can't you categorize it and put a hierarchy behind it? What's wrong with that?
Is it not okay? So, okay, we can't say good or bad food. So then can I say there's good food and then there's much better food for us?
Right. Like better options, better ideas towards food. Like I was joking out there in terms of like water. Nobody questions that there's bad water. Like it's going to give me dysentery. Like things are going to happen as a result of me consuming this.
Right.
Why wouldn't it be the same? Maybe it's on a lesser level. Like maybe it's long term, like these chronic illness issues. But we don't want to look that far into the future. We want to know, if as long as it's not like giving me cancer like tomorrow. it's fine.
It's not bad.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, look, food obviously isn't. From a moral standpoint, it's not doing anything. It's not like it's making choices to do bad things. I get that.
Yeah.
But there's food that's good for you or better for you, and food that's not so good for you. And I think what happens is people, when you start to label things as these are better, these are worse, and then you make the choice to do the worst thing, and you're aware of it, you don't want to feel that. You don't want to say to yourself like, "Ooh, I made a bad choice."
Right.
So instead of feeling that, which is responsibility, I hate to say it, it's like taking responsibility. Instead of saying that, you just, "Oh, no.
Lord,
it's
help
all
us."
good.
Right.
Everything's good." That's that moral relativism where, "No, it's all good as long as everything's..." No, some things are better for you and some things are not. And that's all. There's by the way, listen, taking responsibility, as hard as it feels, is empowering. It's not the opposite.
Right.
It's very empowering. It's empowering for me to be like, "Oh, I'm going to eat some pizza. Not that good for me, but I'm going to do it anyway." Why? Because I own the consequences. I own my decision rather than being like, "Nah, it's all good.
Right.
Everything's fine." We'll see where that lands you.
Yeah.
Look, every single day you make decisions, okay? And your decisions are based off of something being better than something else. So for people who say it's nothing's bad and nothing's good, that's not correct. You are lying to yourself because today you chose food, and the reason why you chose food over other food,
not eating is bad.
is because you decided that food was better than another option. Right. So you yourself are making those decisions all the time. Now we're in the fitness and health space. We're just telling you some things are healthier for you than others, and some foods are just not healthy. Does that mean you should never eat them? No. Sometimes you eat food for the taste. Sometimes I enjoy food because it tastes good, and I know it's bad for me, and that's why I do. So I do things all the time that are bad for me, because I'm enjoying the experience. Like I'll drink alcohol sometimes.
Well, it's just
not good for me.
It's a spectrum like anything else. And, why can we label foods as superfoods? We can't say, you know what I'm saying? We have superfoods. Nobody would argue that. Avocado is a superfood. Okay, well, we wouldn't argue.
It's not super for somebody with an intolerance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not very super.
And your water analogy is perfect, Justin, because it's like if you drank some water that the next day you had diarrhea all day long, nobody would argue you had bad water.
Yeah.
No, right? It would be like, "Well, Justin, no water is bad."
I saw you drink that water.
Right. It's like, so why is that different when we talk about foods? Because if you ate a certain types of foods and that's all you ate all the time, what could potentially happen from that? Mm-hmm. Obesity, possible shit that you get autoimmune issues.
Also, the motivation behind why you continue to feed yourself in a way that is making you ill. Like, why are you still doing this? Right. And people don't want to acknowledge that. And so a lot of people don't. They don't want to acknowledge that they're doing that because you see people who are obviously ill, whether it's like severe obesity or diabetes or other issues, and they'll say things like, "I love my body. I don't care. I just want to, do whatever I want," or this is about body acceptance and body love. And it's like, okay, well, there's two things here. One is, first off, you shouldn't hate yourself. That's very different. But number two, if you're really caring about yourself, you're not doing things that are hurting you. You're not doing those things that are making you ill. Somebody who really cares about themselves takes care of themselves. I can tell if somebody cares about their car. It's not hard for me to make that judgment oftentimes. If you're driving a car and it's full of garbage, you never wash it, it's missing, two of the rims, that you haven't changed the oil, it's about, you got 4 red lights on in your car, I think I can say, or most people can see, you don't really care about your car. You're not taking care of it. And so that's the same thing. So it's okay to say that some foods are not good and other foods are better. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't and if it makes you hate yourself even more, that's not the direction we want to go. The direction is start to care about yourself. Start to care about these things. Look at foods in that way, in certain ways, and understand food offers you more things than just its nourishment. Like I said, sometimes the benefit you get from food is just the enjoyment of the food itself, and it's not the nourishment. You don't have to be an orthorexic, of course.
I think it stems from the same reason why I probably, maybe this is why it triggers me, because I was probably in that camp for a really long time. So if I go deep enough on why does it bother me and I get irritated with people that think this way, it's probably because I thought that way for a really long time. And what I did was I drew my health based off of how I carried myself and how I looked.
So if I'm lean.
Right. I had low body fat percentage. I had abs. I had muscles. I could play basketball. I could run. I could jump. All these things, right? All these things that we would consider markers of health. I was good, very good at, right? And yet I was eating ice cream almost every single night. So I guess in my head, I could see that if you were to talk to that 25-year-old, version of me and say, well, Adam, why do you keep eating that bad food? I would probably get defensive and say the same thing and say, this isn't bad food. Do I look fat to you, or do I look like I have any issues? Do I have anything going on with me? Yeah. So I think that's where my issue comes from, of why it irritates me when I see it, because I think those people are still going blindly through. Like you're still unconscious about the decisions that you're making, to the point where you're defending it so hard that you think it's bad for us to say good food or bad food.
Yeah. What's funny is if I could snap my fingers and all of a sudden everybody was really cared about themselves. Everybody's emotional issues were processed. People weren't depressed or anxious, and people felt fulfilled in their lives. Would people still eat some of these foods? Yeah, you would still get them. People would still eat them here and there, but I think the consumption would drop considerably. I think a lot of the motivation behind why we eat some of these things isn't simply because I'm enjoying it for the sake of enjoying it. I think a lot of it has to do with, and we know this as personal trainers, I'm doing it to deal with my stress, my boredom, my anxiety. I'm doing this to forget about other problems. I'm using this as a drug. I'm doing this because of the context of the environment that I'm in, whatever. I think if you solved some of those things, you would just see the consumption start to drop. And I do get the idea of like demonizing and how that can actually drive people in the opposite direction. Like if you have somebody who feels really shitty about themselves,
or a child,
and that's right, and that's motivating them to eat terribly, and you tell them you're doing something terrible and they feel worse about themselves, they'll probably do it even more.
Or you're talking to a 5-year-old, you don't want to say that's bad, that's bad food. No, you're not trying to teach them that. Like, so I get there's certain places where you can use, but when you're on the platform we are, okay, there's no 5-year-olds listening to this podcast.
They shouldn't be.
There's no 5-year-olds that's taking the time to read Sal's long ass Instagram post. These are all fucking adults we're talking to right now. And so when I hear adults argue back with other adults that there's not good food and bad food, it's like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah.
However you want to spin it and twist it to make yourself feel better, whatever. But at the end of the day, there are foods that are a lot more optimal for our body that serves us really well. And then there's foods that absolutely don't serve us at all. On the physical health point, sure, may serve you in a way of, hey, I'm at a birthday with my son and I want to celebrate and have a good time. Okay, understand that. But that's not who we're speaking to. We're speaking to people that are heading in the direction of, like you said, using it to mask something else, or addicted to it. Or like in my case, the way that the ice cream is it was it's like a Coke addict. That's how I feel about it. Like I still feel that way about it, and I still play around and test it all the time. It's like, oh, it's been 6 months since I've enjoyed an ice cream. Let's see what happens when I do that. So I'm very aware of going 6 months without ever having it to then introducing it and then going like, holy shit, now I want it every single night. Yep. It's like, whoa,
it's way back.
Fuck, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
and so it's not bad food, but there's something about that's not ideal for me, right?
And it's look at the end of the day, here's the deal. It's a hard, long process, and where you're at is where you're at. So at the end of the day, I want people to understand that this is not like judgment. We're not sitting here being like, you're bad and you're wrong and all that stuff. No, at the end, it's a long, hard process. We've just worked with a lot of people and ourselves, and we understand what that looks like, and we know what works. And what works is you have to empower yourself, and part of empowering yourself is taking the responsibility of your choices and knowing that some choices that you make are not good for you, and some choices that you make are good for you. You got to start there. Once you do that, look, here's the deal. At the end of the day, look at your life, and there are consequences that are the result of uncontrollable factors, and there are a lot of consequences that are a result of the controllable factors. Focus on the controllables, because you can't control the other ones anyway. Focus on the controllables, and the controllables involve you, your decisions, your attitudes, your actions, and some of the decisions and shit that you've made, probably not the best ones. That's all I'm saying. And you can look at them and be like, okay, where do I go from here? But you have to accept that responsibility. Don't feel bad, because we're all in the same fucking... Look, I'm in the same boat.
Acknowledge it. Yeah, acknowledge it. Take responsibility that every day you're going to make decisions. That's it. Like, if you can just understand that and know that food is a part of that process, because you're the one that's putting it in your mouth. Unless somebody's force feeding you. But yeah, there's ways that's going to benefit you, and there's ways it's not.
Dude, I know how hard this is. I started working out and I started nutrition because I was painfully insecure about my body, and I treated my body terribly. I learned a lot about fitness, but I also treated myself terribly for a long time until my body rebelled. And it required me to take a step back, look in the mirror, and be like, okay, what did I do to cause this? Did I do some decisions that were wrong for myself? And that was a tough process. That was a very difficult process. It took me a year to come out of that. I went through a divorce. This is after 15 years of marriage with 2 children. Do you know how easy it would have been to end that and then be like, none of it was my fault. It was all her fault. It was all whatever. It was all these other circumstances. No, man, I had to go and be like, all right, what was I responsible for? And that took me fucking years. It took me 2 years after to process all that. Very difficult to take that responsibility because I have to also say to myself, all right, a large part of that was my fault. But you know what? That's where you grow. That's how you stop doing that kind of stuff. And it feels empowering. I know now, okay, I can choose. I know the kind of person I can be, and I can choose to not be that person anymore. That's fucking power right there.
Yeah.
Eagle has landed.
Today's Squad is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quad.
Eagle has landed.
All right, our first question is from Minifig. Chocolate milk is said to be the go-to drink after a workout. Do you believe that's true? Wouldn't all the added sugar offset any health benefits it has? Or is it an acceptable blend of protein and carbs?
Did you guys know that Built with Chocolate Milk, the campaign that's going on, they've signed some NBA teams. I know Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I've seen a big push for that.
Huge push. They came after us, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they came after us about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, before they had launched. And I remember the hardest thing for us was selling the idea.
Right.
And here's the thing why we even thought about it, because there is some truth to this, right? There's there's protein inside the milk. The amount of sugar right after a workout isn't as detrimental as you would think it would be. So, is it? And also when you talk about the people that promote things like branched chain amino acids for recovery and stuff like that, you get a lot of these benefits inside of milk. So it was an interesting campaign that they were running. I would imagine if I were to go dig deep into the money and see where it's rooted from, I would say it's probably
the
dairy industry is probably pushing the message.
Of course.
100%.
So milk itself, there's always controversy around milk, and is it good for you? Is it bad? For a long time, we were told milk is super good for you. You need it for calcium. Then we were told milk is bad for you. Here's the thing: high quality milk, organic in particular. Raw, non-homogenized milk. There's lots of studies done on them, and the Weston A. Price Foundation talks a lot about this. If you can tolerate milk, so if you can tolerate dairy definitely has a place in a healthy diet. And some societies consume a tremendous amount of dairy. There's some Nordic countries, the Northern European countries. You have some tribes in Africa that consume most of their calories from milk and beef blood.
This is how Justin tries to justify his
exactly.
He says he's African.
If you can tolerate dairy, there's a lot of healthy properties coming from dairy, and of course it can be consumed in a way that's bad for you. Now here's where this whole chocolate milk or milk post-workout thing came from. They did a study where they compared a popular post-workout shake. So like your typical protein.
I posted this study,
carb shake,
like almost 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and they compared it to just drinking chocolate milk post workout. Yeah. And what did they find? Both of them replenished glycogen at the same speed. Both of them stimulated, helped with protein synthesis.
Similar amount of protein.
Yeah, based on what they could test or what they were testing, there was no difference between the two, and it was a big joke. Like, you're spending all this money on all these supplements when you could just drink
chocolate milk,
a glass of milk. And there's definitely, like I said, there's some
truth to it.
That. Yeah. But is chocolate milk good for you? No, not really.
I think the cooler
it's
argument.
chocolate.
I
What do
think
they
the
do
cooler
there?
argument is it's not necessarily the most ideal thing after a workout, but it's not that far off from the fucking.
It just highlights what
I
those
think
protein drinks really are.
That's-
For me, you
that's-
know, it's
that's what I get out of
That's
it.
not a healthy drink.
right. So that's what I think
You
is
know?
cool about the study.
Well,
And
where do they get?
That's why I shared it.
What do they get from? Where do protein powders get their protein from?
Yeah, milk.
Milk.
I mean, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah.
And then when they throw carbs in, what kind of carbs do they say that they put in for post workout?
sugar,
fast acting
dextrose,
sugar,
whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's silly.
and that's the silliness of it. Well, we've talked about the importance, or really not the importance, of having something right after your workout.
Sure as hell ain't beating some chicken thighs and freaking rice.
Just have real
and
food.
some greens.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, I went on a mass building. Well, I was always trying to gain size, right? But I went through this period where I had just had this epiphany, like, oh my God, whole milk is just high in calories and protein.
Yeah.
Why don't I just drink a gallon of that every day?
Gallons every other day.
So I would ride my bike to the grocery store.
This may have something to do with your
Yeah,
intolerance.
maybe.
This may have something to do with your intolerance.
Oh, let me
right?
finish the story.
I know where it's going.
I got on my bike, and I used to have milk. It wasn't a problem, when I'd have cereal or stuff. But it wasn't like I didn't pound it, right? So then I realized this. I'm 15 years old, and I have a job at this time. So I get on my bike and I ride to the grocery store, and I would buy gallons of full fat whole milk because I was the highest in calories. And what I would do is in the morning before school, I would drink half a gallon. It was a half a gallon straight to the dome.
That's crazy.
Before school.
That's so much.
And then the rest of the milk I would have when I get home from school. So I was drinking a gallon of milk. You know how many calories in a gallon of milk?
a lot.
It's insane. Yeah, I don't remember the number, but
How many glasses was that?
I drank it out of the carton.
Oh, you just drank out of the carton?
Oh yeah, I would get the plastic jug.
Went beast mode.
Yeah, and I would just chug it, right?
Yeah.
So I did this for, I don't know, a few months, and I gained weight, of course, because I'm consuming thousands of calories worth of, milk or whatever.
Right.
And then it started to fuck me up. Then I would drink it, and I'd go to school, and I'd start farting and 2,380 calories. No, that's non-fat, Doug. Oh, no, that's full fat. Yeah, 2,380. So I was, obviously, I increased my calories by 2,000 or whatever. So then I'd be at school, my stomach would be making noises, I'd be farting and stuff, and then it turned into like I had to have like a midday shit at school, which nobody wants to take a shit at school.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I used to walk home for that.
That's the worst.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So then I was like, what's going on? So then I had a friend who's like, I told my friend, I'm like, dude, I can't have, like, milk's making me have the shits. And he goes, have you seen that new milk? This is when it just first came out. They have that new lactate milk. It's for people who can't have milk. It's like, what? So then I bought a gallon of lactate milk. And then I could have milk again. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So then I drank a gallon of that every day. That lasted for a few months. And then my body said, fuck you. And then all milk went bad. And that was it. I was screwed after that. Could no longer have any dairy because of that.
You went too hard, bro.
I definitely killed myself with that. But yeah, no, dairy can totally be healthy. It could be a healthy part of a diet. Eat it. If you're going to have dairy, do not go non-fat. They're finding that the fat in the milk helps with the absorption of some of the nutrients. In fact, if you feed animals non-fat milk, they tend to have issues. Pasteurization kind of destroys some of the enzymes in milk. So I'm not saying go get just some raw, unpasteurized milk from anywhere, but you want it from really good quality sources. And raw milk from good quality cows, perfectly fine. Did you know that non-pasteurized raw milk from really nice sources, if you put it out and you leave it out, it doesn't go sour? It just turns into
cream. Then.
Turns into cream.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get the pasteurized stuff and you leave it out, it goes bad. That's because the raw milk has got beneficial bacteria that balance out any negatives.
So what
Negative
is
bacteria.
it? I mean, in terms of, I read something about, and of course, this is about cheese. But
Yeah, I just picture him opening the centerfold.
I just
ooh, what kind of benefits do you have there, girl?
Havarti.
Yeah.
Oh
No, just
February.
yeah. February's got all these like benefits, like way more easier on the stomach for
Monterey
some
Jack.
people to digest. Like, so there's certain like as it goes through that process, like I don't know if like the kind of bacteria that cultures with it that allows more people, because like lactose was the big issue, right, for most people with like an intolerance.
Sure.
But for some reason, like cheese was like different.
Yeah.
Well, you also lose some of the digestive enzymes through that process too.
Well, so raw milk has some lactase in it. Lactase is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. when you pasteurize it, it makes it less tolerable for a lot of people. So some people who have a mild intolerance to milk can actually drink raw milk and not have an issue. As far as cheese is concerned, I have an issue with dairy proteins and lactose, but some cheeses are so low in dairy proteins because they're all mostly fat, and they don't have a lot of lactose in them that I could have some. Like butter, I don't have a problem with butter. I can have butter all day long, and butter's, that's milk fat. Ghee, definitely not an issue. I can eat gallons of ghee.
So it's higher on the fat content than the lactose.
Yeah, it's the milk proteins and the lactose that people tend to have an issue for. It's funny, they identified a gene in Northern Europeans that allows them to continue to digest dairy even until old age, because human children, usually can produce the lactase enzyme. That's why they can have breast milk, because breast milk contains some lactose in it. And some babies are lactose intolerant, but most of us can have breast milk.
I know. Okay, hold on. Remember, like what we just read, that like a new trend in bodybuilding was to drink like breast milk.
Oh yeah, you hear about this?
Remember that?
You didn't bring that up on the show.
Yeah, we
did
never
you?
talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, is this like verified? And
I didn't even look
actually
it up.
have okay.
Yeah, who found it? You or Sal?
I was like, this
I
has to
did.
be some troll like account or something.
Yeah, is this some bullshit sliding
Bro,
in your DM
think about it.
post, or is someone actually
I wouldn't put it past them though. That's the thing. It's like,
Dude, I could sell. Imagine if you were just an unscrupulous person. How easy could you sell breast milk to bodybuilders?
you could,
right?
Like, yeah. And here's what
Human
I would
to
do.
human, way better animal to human.
Here's how I would sell it. 100%. Here's the sales pitch. Ready? The average baby gains 50% more body weight in the first.
New supplement, colostrum.
bro. Before you finish that pitch, I know you're going.
Tell me that's not going to the most growth you'll ever go through in your entire life.
Yeah.
The human.
Oh my God.
The human body produces the perfect food for this accelerated
It's like
growth.
going back in utero.
If you're trying to maximize your growth, why not drink the thing that was designed for maximum growth?
Oh my God.
yeah,
it's brilliant.
milk made from God.
Yeah, mom's milk.
Made from God.
For growth. It's good for your brain, your bones, and especially your muscles.
Oh,
Anyway.
Oh,
Can we do
yeah.
that, Doug? Can we do that? I would love to do
You
that.
just have
Wine pump, yeah.
where do you harvest it?
Pump milk.
Just
Just pump milk.
taste
I don't
it.
know.
This is good batch.
Some people will get it.
Next question is from Robin Holdaway. Are stimulant-free pre-workouts worth taking? If so, what brands?
Stimulant-free
Sell
pre-workouts.
me on this because I say no.
They don't sell that many, do they? Most pre-workouts, that's a hard sell.
Well, and I think, I think when you're, it's interesting. There's a market that's growing for this right now.
Sure.
And it's to counter, the bad pub that stimulants have gotten and the overuse of stimulants. And so this is just how the market works. It's like we swing one way hard, that opens up the market on the other side for someone to do a counter product. The reality of it is like the goal should be to not have anything. Mm-hmm. Like you really don't need anything going into a workout. I mean, if you've
Maybe a meal if you're going to have a real long, hard workout.
and even then, that should have been done 2 hours before,
Right.
Because you're not, just so you know, you're getting ready to go do a long, hard workout, and you eat right before you go do that. You're not getting to use that. That isn't. It takes 2 hours on average to convert that over to use it as fuel. So the idea that we need to take anything for the workout is just absurd. Now, does that mean that I don't use stimulants sometimes? Fucking A, I do. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not. We talked about this the other day about the 6 a.m. workout thing. I did one the other day, and you bet your ass I'm drinking a caffeine drink on the way over to the pool because I'm still wiping the crust out of my eyes. I am not motivated to go push my body at all. And so, I'm using that. Now, I also am aware. So the other day I went, this is just on Sunday. I was going to work out, and it was Sunday, and it was midday, and I went to reach to get a pre-workout at my cupboard that I have in there, and I was like, I literally looked and go, it's middle of the day, I'm not tired right now, and I put it right back in. So I don't want to get in the habit of doing it just to do it, so I think I'm aware of that, but at the same time, too, if you're using pre-workouts to get some oomph in your workout, to do it non-stimulant is kind of like...
Yeah. Well,
I don't see the...
You know why
It's strange to me.
You know why that's happening, right?
You just said it's a counter.
They did such a good job selling us on the ritual of drinking something before we work out.
Yeah.
They did such a good job that is now considered part of the routine of working out. Right. So the routine of working out used to be you go to the gym and you work out. Then supplement companies did a good job and sold us so hard on the fact that you drink a protein shake post-workout that became the routine. Like, oh, you're going to go work out? You have to have a shake afterwards. It became part of the routine for everybody. I mean, I was told as a trainer working in a big box gym, that's what you need to have your clients do. And I bought into it. Then it became part of the ritual that you drink something before you work out. So now you have all these people who are like, well, I got to have a pre-workout, but I don't want stimulants because caffeine makes me feel shitty, or I'm not supposed to have caffeine because I'm anxious or whatever. So what do? So supplement companies are like, here you go. Here's something without any stimulants, but it's got the citrulline that's supposed to give you a better pump. It's got the beta-alanine, which helps with some stamina and endurance. Now, it is true that like beta-alanine, for example, may improve your ability to perform a little bit higher during your workout. And so I don't see a problem in taking something like beta-alanine before you work out. But I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're not firing at all cylinders, it ain't going to make a difference. Like beta-alanine and pre-workouts and all that stuff, that should be saved for the person who's dialed. Otherwise, if I give it to if I took an average person who's, let's say someone hires me to train them and they don't have any idea about nutrition, they haven't even worked out, or maybe they worked out in the past, am I going to waste any time saying, hey, take some pre-workout? But no, why? It's not going to do anything for them.
It's silly to me. I mean, immediately I think of the guy that orders a near beer at the bar and is like trying to hang out with his buddies and have a good time. Like, what are you doing, dude? Just sit this one out.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having his own duels.
Yeah, he's got his own duels. I got my pre-workout with no stimulants. Cool story, dude. Yeah. Get out of here.
No, it's not going to help with muscle building. It's not going to help. You might get a little bit of a performance increase that we can measure in a test with high-performing athletes for something like beta-alanine. That would be the thing.
That's the big one.
Yeah,
that's the big
you
one.
You can buy that cheap.
That's what everybody pushes, though.
Yeah, you could buy that cheap. And let me tell you something. A lot of you won't like beta-alanine. If you've never taken it before and you take it, it's going to feel like you have little creepy crawlies all over.
Tingly on you. It makes my fingers feel all weird.
Yep, absolutely.
But that's again, and to me, that's the real magic of even that. Mm-hmm. People feel that. And because we feel something, we're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, if you feel something.
That's why pre-workouts were such an easy sell, because they could hand out supplement samples at the convention. You take it once and you feel it.
So beta, caffeine, niacin are the triple threat of pre-workout stuff.
Oh, my God, niacin.
Those three things are out of all the things that they put in there, but you can noticeably feel it. Niacin will literally make somebody just sitting still sweat. That's how it's designed.
Makes your skin turn red. You ever take it before?
Yeah, it heats you up. So it will make you sweat just from taking. So you could just take niacin by itself. And the people that feel, because I know you what you notice. Okay, so I've paid attention to this many times. When I take a supplement that has niacin in it, let's say my workouts are very, very consistent. I can get into a workout and it takes probably 5 to 7 sets before that first bead of sweat. And I have a spot on that's how fucking consistent I've been. I know right where the bead of sweat starts on my head. There's a bead that runs right down the left side of my forehead. And then from then on, the sweat comes on. Like
mine starts on my lower back. It's weird.
It's the cheeks, the anchor.
Right down to the crack.
Anchor.
Yeah.
It goes down
drawn in.
It falls into the crevasse.
When I take a supplement that has niacin in it, shit, before I'm even done with my third set, that sweat's already happening.
Dude, have you ever taken a high dose of niacin?
Yeah, bro.
So I knew about this, and I knew niacin caused this flushing.
It's like being in a fucking sauna.
Bro, I looked like I had a sunburn. My skin, everything turned super red and very uncomfortable. That was a learning lesson right there.
But really, that's all those things. They put those three main things, and that's
if you're
really
going to buy,
they want you to feel it.
If you're gonna buy a pre-workout, and you can take stimulants, and you like that. And by the way, stimulants are great. If you manage your stimulant use and you have a good tolerance and you're healthy, stimulants are fun pre-workout. A little bit of caffeine, it's going to make you stronger. You're going to perceive pain a little bit less. You're going to have a harder workout. You're probably going to be in a better mood while you're working out. There's some other benefits that may help you uptake glycogen, but again, we're splitting hairs. If you want to go with a pre-workout that's got some stimulant in it and has some ingredients that at least have some clinical research behind them, Legion would be the pre-workout that I would say if you want to go that route, right? He's got his what's called Pulse.
Yeah.
That would be the one I would go. But stimulant-free, well, here's what you could do stimulant-free. You could take a supplement that is also shown to improve performance and help your body adapt to stress. So beta-alanine might help a little bit with that. Cordyceps is another thing you can take. Four Sigmatic makes a great cordyceps supplement. I used it in my all-day workout the other day, and I like that. The red juice from Organifi has got some ingredients like rhodiola that might help a little bit with your performance. It's not necessarily 100% stimulant-free because rhodiola's got a very mild stimulant effect in some people, but it's not a classical stimulant like
even then. Like
caffeine
these are all companies that we promote and say great things about, but you'll still never hear any of us say that like it's an ideal situation that you take this thing before you work out.
It's not like a game changer.
No, it's not. It's there's many other big rocks that should be addressed. Now that's not to say too that you're somebody who is addressing all of those big rocks and you're like, hey, I want to get more performance out, or I want to measure this and see what a difference is when I take caffeine or I take cordyceps or whatever supplement we're talking about, and you have extra money to spend, by all means. I think I just come from a place of being that teenage boy who spent the little money I had on these things, these products, trying to get this competitive edge, totally not focused on the things that would really make the difference. So that's the passion I think that comes behind us as far as the almost anti-supplement vibe that we've always given. Although yet you answered a question the other day, Sal, and openly admit they're like, I probably take fucking more supplements than anybody, right? But the thing is, one, you're not a broke kid who's trying to build muscle and is not taking that, thinking that this is going to give him that edge to do that.
Right.
You're enjoying it. Half the shit you're getting given to you for free, and you also you understand what all the big rocks are. So then you really have a good gauge of being able to measure, like, oh, is this helping my performance? Is this helping my cognitive function? Is it helping my recovery?
Here's what I do pre-workout. So if I'm going to take anything pre-workout, it's 200 milligrams of caffeine, 200 milligrams of theanine. With the caffeine, it balances it out. Sometimes I'll throw some cordyceps and some beta-alanine, and that's it. So if I'm going to take anything, that would be my mix, and then I go work out. And sometimes I take nothing.
Next question is from Amanda Madonna. When looking to hire a trainer, what are good questions to ask or qualifications to look for?
Oh, yeah.
Do you listen to Mind Pump?
Yeah. That's the first one, right?
That's the future. That's the future of this. Is just, hey, you should be able to ask them. I mean, we got 1,000 episodes out. Pretty soon here, if you're a trainer and you haven't listened to Mind Pump, I don't know, you're suspect. You're suspect.
At some point, I hope we can come up with a way for, maybe some kind of, not a certificate, but something where people can see, because this is a problem. Like, unfortunately, there's a lot of great trainers out there, but there's enough bad ones out there that, give personal training kind of a bad rap.
There's way more bad than there are good.
Yeah, unfortunate. Sure. It's unfortunate. But I'll tell you. Okay, here's a few things I would pay attention to. What about the assessment? Look at the assessment that the trainer takes you through. If the trainer doesn't take you through an assessment and just takes you through a hard workout, that is a clear sign to me that this is not a good trainer. It would be like going to a mechanic and the mechanic doesn't even ask what the hell's wrong with the car.
Yeah.
They just take your car and they're just like, okay, cool, I'm going to change your tires. You're like, well, that's not the problem. So an assessment's real important. Are they listening to what you need and what you want and your questions? Are they answering all your questions for you? And are they training you appropriately? In other words, when you're doing that assessment / first workout, are you walking out of the gym feeling better, or are you walking out of the gym feeling like you just went through war? If you're walking out feeling like you got beat up, that is not a good trainer. Yeah. That's somebody that's just trying to show off and trying to, train you real hard.
Yeah, I think too, to do your homework more effectively is to really just spend time in that gym that they work at and just pay attention, observe, watch, and get a good feel for like how they interact and communicate with their clients. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to take, that long, but even if you just did like a week of just like observing, you could get a lot better idea of like whether or not it's going to be a good match. I think one interaction will definitely tell you a lot, but in terms of like, if I'm really going to be diligent with this and try and find somebody that I know, will be able to help me long term, I think it'd just be a good idea to just watch. And see, like,
no, I think that's the best thing you can do. Brilliant piece of advice. If you don't have a personal person that you, or a person that you can reach out to that has had a personal experience with one of these trainers they can refer, like somebody saying, hey, I had this. If you don't have that, then I would highly. I mean, it's a major investment. Training's not cheap. I mean, you're not leaving a place, even if probably the cheapest place is $300 to a few $1,000s. That you're going to be investing in a trainer. I mean, before I make an investment like that, I'm going to want to watch how they work. I want to see how they perform and what they're doing. And you can tell a lot by the interaction with a trainer and another client. You could tell by the client's facial expressions, like, are they enjoying the process? Are they smiling? Are they engaged? Are they asking questions? Are they actually doing some work? I used to teach my trainers this because the fact that there were studies that came out and showed that, or there surveys they took that talked about the average client shops a trainer for 3 months. And so I'd always tell my trainers, like, you are always on display. So, even if your client's just in doing reps, and if you sitting still, I think is a bad habit. So I would teach them to be, you're constantly moving around your client and assessing from all angles, so you can get a better view of where they could be deviating in some part of their body in the movement. And one, it keeps you busy. It makes you be attentive. You don't have any desires or temptations to look down at your phone and do something like that, or look over at some hot chick that walks by, or be looking off of the TVs while they're going and sports is on or some shit. Like, you're focused in on your client. I'm looking for someone like that. Like, I know if they're attentive like that they're probably attentive to every. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So if they are treating that attentiveness to that client in that 1 hour, I'm most likely they're spending that attentiveness with your diet and with your programming. And so I think that's a really good place to start, is to pay attention.
Yeah, you can really see how much they care too. Like, because I hate to say it, but there's trainers out there that are just like clocking in, clocking out, and this is like sort of a stepping stone for them for some other career path. And like, you'll see right away who's treating it like this is going to be their career, and this is like what they're vested in by the way that they interact with their clients and the way that they're prepared for them, and the way they communicate, their information to them, and just their overall passion will just come through. So I pay attention to all those things.
Yeah, and ask yourself, do you like them? This is an important question. I think, and now the truth is, most people wouldn't hire someone they didn't like. But ask yourself, do you really like this person? Do you think you mesh well with their personality when you first meet them? Because if you do work out with them, that's going to be an hour at a time hanging out with this person and working out. You're going to kind of want to, make sure that you like them. And here's the other thing. Hire a trainer for 5 or 10 sessions to start out with. You'll get way more you'll get a lot more information training with that person for 5 to 10 hours. That'll give you a better, understanding of whether or not you should hire them for another 20, 30, 40, 50 sessions. That'll tell you quite a bit. I think you'll have a good idea. In fact, if you train with a trainer for 5 to 10 sessions, you should have a pretty good idea as to whether or not this is somebody you're going to want to work with. And most trainers are not going to have a problem with that. Like, if you walk up to a trainer, you do your assessment, you're like, look, I'd like to just hire you for 5 workouts just to see if this is going to work for me, and if you're the kind of person that I think is going to work well with me, and vice versa. Can we start off with just 5 and take it from there? I don't know any trainer that will say no. Most trainers will be like, absolutely, let's do that, and let's take it from there. And then that'll give you a better idea before you make a larger investment. Because
the other thing too is to go directly to the fitness manager. Every gym will have.
Oh yeah, they'll probably put you in the right place.
Right. Every gym will have somebody who is what they call them, a fitness manager or a trainer manager or lead trainer, or you'll have someone who's leads all the trainers. And if you've got 15, 20 trainers there, that guy or girl who's leading all those trainers will be able to tell you who the best trainer is. And if you come and I used to love when clients would do that way. I'd get a page at the front desk. They'd come back in the office and they would lay out all their goals, what they want, and they'd say, Adam, who is your best trainer for me? And then great, that's easy. I just got to find out all about their personality. I know what their goals are. I know what the things that they really want. I know how to match this person really well. So go to one of the managers there and actually ask their opinion on who, say, hey, and trust me, a manager who knows you're about to invest in their gym, right? You're going to spend money at their facility, and you say,
they
hey,
want to get it right.
Yeah, they're going to take you become a quick priority than somebody else who the trainers are out there trying to convince to buy training.
Oh, you better believe if the manager sent a client to a trainer, that trainer needs to do a good job because they're being watched.
Yeah. So that's a very, very smart strategy if you're a listener and you're looking to invest in a trainer. Go straight to management and say, hey, I want to buy training, but I want your best trainer. And you better believe you're going to get your best trainer, the best trainer. I'm actually surprised more people that know they're going to buy training don't do that.
Yeah.
Next question is from Daniel De Hoyos 8. Is opening a gym a worthy investment? Can you talk about the business side of opening and managing a gym?
That's a tough business.
It's a fun topic.
That is a very difficult business to, and here's why it's a difficult business. It typically requires a lot of capital.
Yep.
Even a small gym is going to cost a lot. Even a tiny gym will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars just because of the equipment it takes and the space that you're going to be renting. And the time investment is a lot. It's almost like, you ever talk to a restaurant owner and you ask them what their hours are like? They work a lot of hours. There's so many moving parts. You got to be a part of it. You have to be in the culture because there's constant customers or potential customers all the time. If you're lucky coming through your gym, right? People working all the time. So you want to maintain that good culture. And so running a gym just requires a lot of time also. I mean, when I managed gyms, even when I was at my best, when I had the best staff working for me, I mean, I was still in there 10, 11 hours a day, just, being in there in the morning and then prime time when most people would be working out. So it's now here's the good side of it. If you're super, super passionate about fitness, you get to own a gym. Yeah. You get to work in a gym all day long. And if that's who you are, go for it. I don't recommend anybody who doesn't have a passion for fitness buying a gym and thinking I'm just going to make money.
Like it's an investment. Yeah.
I don't think that's it. Yeah, I don't think that's great.
I think it's as simple as that. I think it's, are you somebody who cares more about, hey, being able to have your own gym, to paint it the way you want, to name it what you want, to color the equipment the way you want, to come to work in your slippers if you like, to work out naked whenever you want to. Like, if this is the stuff that you hear that and you're like, fuck yeah, that's cool. That's what I want to be able, that's what I want for a living. And to be able to do that, I think it's a great idea. But if you get into it thinking that you're going to make a lot of money, I think that's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Because I've known tons and big names, even like the Jason Kalipas. One of the things that what shocked me, and I won't air out his laundry as far as revenue and stuff like that, but I was very surprised by he still fell in that average dollar amount of what that size of a gym would make, and he's got 31 of them all over the world. And you would think someone who has 31 facilities, that's just, oh man, there must be a ton of fucking money. But when I asked him details on revenue, he falls right in the medium of what most people do that have these.
Dude, you know what one of the big issues is they look at companies like 24-Hour Fitness and how much money they made. Like, it got valued at, $1 billion at one point.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. The structure, the systems, the training that they did at 24-Hour Fitness during those days was insane. Was absolutely insane.
Impeccable.
I did a sales training the other day for trainers, and I told them, go get on the intercom and make an announcement. Tell people those free assessments at the front desk. And everybody looked at me like I was like a genius.
Well, just that alone. Like, what other gym franchise do you know values sales and teaches sales?
They don't.
They don't.
I used to, listen, when managing gyms, this came from headquarters. You do, 4 announcements a day. Here's your structured announcements. Here, and these are over the intercom. I mean, it was all part of the process. Here's what you do when you see a member. Here's how you give a tour to a member. Here's how you present.
Here's the 20 questions you ask them when you sit down with them.
Yeah, here's what personal training.
In this strategic order for specific reasons, because you're trying to pull out information to lead into a sale.
They maximized the hell. They turned it into a business, but it was like, we used to get reports every day. I would get a PPR report, which is a personal production report, so I knew what everybody was selling in the company, and they knew this because people would get competitive. I had a daily production report, which was what the gym did, and they broke everything down. Amount of people checking into your gym, how many guests you got, what percentage of them got sold, what percentage of them got a pass, the kind of memberships they bought, your monthly dues, your sale. I mean, all this crazy, insane structure just to make it a very profitable business. Then you get a bunch of people like, oh, I'm going to open a gym and make a lot of money because I see these gyms make a lot of money. It is a lot of work to go in and do that.
It's a whole nother monster.
Oh, it's a crazy monster.
Yeah, no, it's a whole other monster. So I think that, and the numbers, the medium is like 60 to 150. 60 grand a year is like kind of the bottom. And if I would say if you're performing under 80, I would say you need work. You need to definitely work on your model.
Talking about profit?
Yeah, profit wise. And the high end, typically 150. Now, that doesn't mean there's some person who's listening to this podcast right now that's done an amazing job and has low overhead for whatever reason, and they've made maybe 200. But those are outliers. For the average that you're looking for is, and then on top of that 8 to generate that 60 to 150K a year range requires you to work your ass off.
Well-
Most all those facilities, their trainers or the guy or girl who owns the place
Lives in it.
Yeah, lives in it, is working full time, but they love it, right? You should, right? You shouldn't get into it if you're not going to love those things.
The main thing is, and why we, I guess, have sort of cautioned a bit more and leaned on that is because you can definitely make that with way less overhead just training. And that is something that is very attainable.
Yeah.
And even more so, like option wise and flexibility wise and lifestyle wise. But if like I do understand the appeal of owning your own gym, that's like something that people get excited about because it's, you show up, you're known for this spot, this location, and there's something like, that draws people to that because it's a good feeling to have your own place.
I want to do this one day, but I've always said that I would never want to do it to where I have to make money from it.
Yeah.
I want to do it the same way you should buy a bar. They say the same thing about bars. Like it's not a smart investment to try. I'm going to start this bar down where there's 40 other bars.
I'm going to hire a manager to run it, and I don't need to be there, and I'm going to make all this passive income.
Right.
Not going to.
No, it's the thing you do when you're 65 and you've made a fuck ton of money, and you can go throw $300,000 on it. You can go get a liquor license and a bunch of money. You don't need it to profit or make any money because you're fucking rich or you have other incomes coming in to handle it, even if it's at a loss. And you want a place to hang out with your boys and have a cigar and fucking watch sports. Like that's why you do that. I feel the same way with the gym thing. I want that too. Like and we kind of have that now, right? So I feel like we do with this gym that we use in here for shooting video. We all obviously work out a lot of the time here too, but nobody comes in here. There's no money being made by training clients or servicing people to keep it open, and I would never want that stress because there's other things that I want to do.
And plus the overhead of opening a gym. Like let's say you open a 20,000 square foot, which is like not a massive gym. That's a normal size gym with just machines, weights, and cardio, and maybe a small, group X room. Right? You don't even have a pool. You don't have all that other crazy stuff. Which forget that.
The bare essentials.
Just the essentials of what it would be to be kind of competitive somewhat. How much do you think it would cost to buy that equipment or rent that equipment, lease it, whatever, to get it going? $500,000 to $1 million. You're going to be spending a lot of money.
At least a quarter.
Yeah, at least a quarter.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about
for decent machines.
But I'm talking about if you got to give yourself how much time before you're not going to be making any money, and you're going to be talking about that's a huge amount of capital.
On all those loans.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of capital.
Yeah.
And staff that goes in there.
Well, the point that Justin made, I think, is such a good point. Is that if you're looking to make because there's nothing wrong to make $100 to $150,000 a year. That's very respectable money, and in some places of the country, it's great fucking money. So, and to be your own boss, that's pretty awesome. But if you're just looking for a way to create $150K a year, it'd be a lot easier just being a trainer. You can make that or more working on your craft there and raising your prices with way less stress. Way less stress by doing that. But I know a few trainers who did that, who actually went, bought, and started their own studios, sold their studios, and then went and just started training. Well, we just
contract.
I won't throw him under the bus either on air right now. But one of my guys who, I hired him when he was 19 years old. He's 30 now, and he's had his gym for the last 3 years. He kind of followed my path where he worked at 24 Hour Fitness. Then he went to doing like boot camps and group training like that. Then he decided he wanted to open up his own studio, and he was successful at it. He's got, I think, like 8 trainers or so that work underneath him. But I know he works his ass off, and he's got a ton of people. And he came to me one day and he's like, Adam, I've made good money. I've done this, but the management side of it, I don't like it. He's like, I'm gonna be done with it. And so he just literally sold and walked away just 2 weeks ago for that exact reason. And he was successful. He was successful at it. Was on the upper tier of what people could make in that place. But he just absolutely dreaded the grind of having to train as much as he did in order to generate that much revenue. And then in addition to that, having to oversee 10, 12 people to keep them motivated and working and doing. He's just like, oh man, it's not what I expected it to be. So you got to think of those things that, do you like building a team? Because I like a lot of that shit. So I could get down with this. I could see if I didn't have to chase $1 and I could just go build something
for fun.
Yeah, for fun at my pace. I would enjoy building like a little red dot version of a gym. I really would. I think I could see the three of us doing that at one point when we have built this thing to be a little bit more automated, to where we have a little more flexibility to go and get our hands involved in stuff. Because I would love to start up these little pods the size of like Red Dot, and within there we teach trainers the MAPS philosophy and all the programs, and we build it the way we'd want to build it, so it'd be the most impactful for clients but may not be the most profitable for us right away. But doing it the right way and slow, man, I would love to do that. It would be fun.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. It's a labor of love. Again, the big mistake, absolute biggest mistake I've seen, there's two with people opening gyms. One is it's the fitness enthusiast that thinks that they're just going to open a great gym and people are going to show up and want to work out there. And they have no experience or desire to do anything with marketing or sales. Big mistake. And then the other one is the person that really doesn't like fitness, doesn't really care about fitness. They're just a business person. And they think, oh, this looks easy. I'm just going to open up this gym because I've seen that they succeed and it's going to succeed. That's another big mistake. Those are the two biggest problems that I've seen with people failing in the gyms. It's like the fitness guy who doesn't know how to market and sell, and the non-fitness person who's like, I'm going to open a Crunch because they're getting really popular and let's see what happens. I think I'll throw some money on it and just hire a manager. And then they realize, because I'll tell you what, man, managing some of the gyms I've managed, the team in the gym, the manager in the gym could literally make the difference between, doing a certain amount per month or double. That's how big of a difference the team in the gym can make. So the gym itself, is responsible for not that much at all. It's the people in the gym and how it's run. And it'll blow you away. I knew clubs that would go in the red, switch the team out, put a manager and some salespeople in there, and the next thing you know, that club is crushing and profiting. Same equipment, same town, everything's the same, just a better team. Makes that big of a difference. So look, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can download our guides for free. We have fat loss guides, muscle building guides, get better squat guides. We have guides for personal trainers too. Again, it's at mindpumpfree.com. You can also find us all on social media. We're all on Instagram. You can find Justin at mindpumpjustin. You can find me at mindpumpsal, and you can find Adam at mindpumpadam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.